Alison, welcome. It is so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share a little bit more about the wonderful world of animals, animal communication, and all of that.
I love that. When we met briefly through actually a networking event and setting, when you said what you do, I thought that is so unique, so outside of kind of the norm of what you think about career and work and being able to make a living. Traditionally, at least I think, and I think many people think of these corporate careers, marketing, sales, HR, you name it. And when I heard what you do, I was like, I first of all want to find out more myself selfishly and share it with others, because again, so many people are looking for more fulfillment, for more meaningful work, and sometimes just featuring and talking about a possibility that might have been outside of the realm of possibilities of somebody could be a huge encouragement. So I'd love for you to tell us, what is it that you do?
My business is called Animal Soul Connection, and I'm an animal communicator first and foremost. That's really the foundation for everything else that I do in my work. And if you're not familiar with animal communication, what I do is I help people understand what their animals are really thinking and needing and wanting. And if they have any kind of issues that maybe they're concerned about, whether it's a physical issue or behavioral, emotional issue, I act as the translator for the animal and the person. I do this by talking to them in their language, which is telepathy. And when I first started this years ago, I shied away from that word telepathy because it feels a bit like, oh, I don't know, what that is. But it simply means distant feeling. That's all it is. And we've all had that experience. You've probably sensed when somebody was going to call, or maybe you were thinking about somebody and they sent you a text, or, that hundreds of examples. But that's a form of telepathy, distant feeling. And as an animal communicator, I convey those thoughts and those feelings to the person, and then it becomes an open three-way conversation.
Hmm.
And I receive information in a variety of ways. So, you've probably heard about the clairs, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance. I don't necessarily put those labels on what I do. It is what I'm doing, but receive maybe images in my mind's eye, or words, sentences, overall knowing feelings, or I can get physical or emotional sensations in my own body from an animal. What I do is I share all of that with you, and then that helps to get to the root of any issue. I liken this kind of to, if we lived with someone who spoke a completely different language, we would be able to get along, maybe through signs, or whatever it is. But there's still a little gap. So it's kind of like that with our animals. We're speaking some of the same language with them, right? We're watching their behavior, their body language, things like that. But with animal communication, we get right to what they're saying. And it's just amazing. And I do that with animals who are living, of course, and also animals who are in spirit. And that provides a huge sense of comfort for their people.
Wow. That is so amazing. I'm just thinking, how did you? It sounds like even intuition, like you're
Yes, yes.
intuitively
Mhm.
able to pick up, because I'm just thinking of my own doggy, and we were talking about before starting the recording that he wasn't feeling well yesterday and today. And so much of the time, we kind of see the signs, when they are, they're happy when you feed them, and there's certain food that they like. You see them when they're happy that you come home. But then when they are especially when they're not feeling well, they don't really talk to you, or it's harder to pick up until there are obvious signs. And even when there are obvious signs that they're not feeling well, they might not be getting up or whatever. But we don't know if they're in pain, if they're in extreme pain. It's like so hard to actually delineate and pick up. How did you even connect, or how did you start hearing their language, if you will, or picking up their communication?
Yes, that's a great question. Looking back now in my lifetime of really loving animals, and that's just been kind of who I am as I'm just immersed in the world of animals. I think it was just a little bit more on the intuition side, just kind of having a little bit of a knowingness and sensing a little bit about what they needed and what they might want. But I I made the decision that I wanted to study animal communication and become a professional animal communicator. So I did study with a couple of different teachers and went through their programs, and then also became certified to teach animal communication as well. And so that's a big part of what I do is, additionally. But the most exciting thing, like this is sort of my mantra, I guess you'd say, with what I do. Everybody has this natural intuitive ability to do what I do. So I don't say that I'm gifted or I have any, nothing's been specially bestowed upon me. I just took the time and the dedication to make it my life's work. But for people maybe such as yourself, or they have animals in their family and they would like to be able to talk to them kind of on this deeper level, then we get together and you can actually learn to do that yourself, because we truly all do have that natural intuitive ability. Just kind of depends on how far you'd like to take it.
Wow, I it's so enlightening that you said, like, I studied it. So are you saying that it's like any skill, anybody can learn it? Because yeah, my first thinking or intuitive thinking is that you would have to have an underlying gift.
Right. Yes. No, you don't. That's what's so exciting. I've taught, I don't know, countless students, and everybody does it, can do it. And I think that's where I'm seeing and feeling a shift in the energy with this. When I first started in animal communication and started this business, I had a couple of other I've been working in the animal field for about 30 years now, and had a couple of other businesses before that working with animals. But um, just having kind of that knowingness that this was out there, and that I absolutely felt called and pulled to do it. And I kept kind of, well, at the time, I owned a pet sitting business and I had that for about 17 years. And, that's a very busy um, business to have. I think a lot of people think, oh, you just get to play with cats and dogs all day. No, it's very intense. It's very busy, really demanding, super rewarding, but also you really don't have free time because you're working 7 days a week. And I knew I wanted to become an animal communicator. I just didn't have the time. And it's kind of funny. I love looking at the synchronicities coming from the universe or divine, whatever, word is comfortable for people. But I'll just tell a quick story. So
Yeah.
when I was wanting to study this, just didn't have time. Busy. My heart and soulmate dog, his name was Andy, and he died in January of 2018. And this was a few years before that. And we were out, we were living in Nebraska at the time, and we were out front. We had a bunch of property, and Andy and I were hanging out, and I was eating an apple. And I wanted to share some of my apple with Andy. And so I just stepped off our front step, which I've done, thousands of times, and somehow completely blew out my right ankle. I mean, it was just done in. Level 3 sprain, some fractures, it was a mess. And just by stepping off that. But that was fun. That was the universe again. God, saying, okay, you need to do this. You want to study animal communication. So let's just lay you up for a while. That's how I view it, very truly. And so I couldn't work. I couldn't drive. I couldn't go anywhere. I just sat in my chair, with my foot up, and I learned animal communication. Yeah. So that really opened the door, and I studied with one teacher, and then I went into another, and just dove into it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm sorry about what happened, but it's so, because so many, whether you're, whatever is a path, no matter whether it's animal communication or something else that we want to explore or we have an idea for, I think many people will be able to relate to the fact we find ourselves busy in the current work, in our current life, and there's always not enough time
Mhm.
to devote, because starting something new, to your point, it does take time to learn, to start to practice. It can be significant time investment. So you had been thinking, for how long had you been thinking, and how did animal communication even come into your awareness that that could be a thing that you want to do?
Yes. I can't really recall where I even heard about animal communication in the first place, because this was back in like the mid, I don't even know how do we even say this? I don't know, like 2014, maybe somewhere around in there, 2013, 2014, and had an awareness of it. There were not a lot of animal communicators at that time compared to, there's a lot right now, right? A
Oh,
lot of
really?
people getting
I didn't
into
even know that. I didn't
studying
realize.
it. Seems to be anyway. I've seen an increase, I guess I should say. I don't know if it's a
Mhm.
lot, but
Yeah.
there's been an increase. So more people are getting interested in it, which is great. Um, and then I went to a Hay House event. I don't know if you're familiar.
Mhm.
Hay House, like, yeah, Louise Hay, and that was, yeah, around that same time. And Wayne Dyer was the keynote speaker, and all the great names, felt like were there, which was, it was just magical. And I went to one of the other speakers, and we did it was kind of it was an angel, focused on angels, and we did a beautiful meditation. And I went deep into this meditation, and it came to me like, it was like I just was hit on the side of the head, like, you are to become an animal communicator, like, period. And
Wow.
I remember coming out of the meditation, and I was just crying with like happy tears. It was so powerful that it was palpable. And but still at that time, like, oh well, that's great, but I just don't have the time. So a couple of years later, it took a couple of years for it to finally come to come to fruition.
Wow. So that happened 10 years ago that you.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. Hmm.
So you kind of then, because I'm just thinking through, sometimes you can have the ideas, but you don't have that. I think you're yearning for that clarity or verification that that is really the thing, no matter what the thing is that you should be doing, that that is meant for you. I mean, I think it also is one of the things that stops people because they have the idea, but they're not sure. But for you, it came through in this powerful meditation, and you kind of had that knowing that that is for you.
Yes, yes, exactly. And in the meantime, I was doing what I could, reading some animal communication books. I think you mentioned that as well. Um, yeah, doing what I could, and then of course working with animals every day, all day long. My pet sitting business certainly, is a big part of it too. Looking back now, I see how I was, bringing those just natural intuitive abilities into, working with the animals on a daily basis. But I think he had mentioned something about, oh, I can't remember quite how it was phrased, but about learning animal communication. And it is very much like um, a muscle. Oh yes, because what you do, right? You are Yes. Our physical muscles, this is more of a intuitive muscle. And the more we practice, the stronger it gets.
Really?
And it really is kind of that simple. And another very important part about learning animal communication, whether you're wanting to do it for your own animal family, or maybe you'd like to volunteer at a local rescue or shelter and help animals in that way, which is hugely needed, by the way, or you want to, go on and maybe do it professionally. Um, we've been taught the way of learning generally, at least I know in the United States, is books. We study our books, we take our tests, we memorize things. There's not a lot of interaction. It's just, we're sort of like little robots in school, feels like to me. And learning animal communication, or I think kind of anything in this field, I also do a lot of energy work and things like that. It's totally different. So instead of like pressing and studying and striving and pushing, we just sit back and we allow, we open our heart, and it's this ease and this flow and letting go. And it's such a beautiful experience because the less we try, the easier it becomes. So it's really neat.
Hmm. I love that. Did you have already kind of inklings or certain messages or communication that you could already read before you studied from animals?
Ooh, it's a great question. I think I was having them, but I didn't have a label of animal communication on it.
Mhm.
And I just had a deep sense, a deep knowing of, especially in my pet sitting business, how to interact with all of the hundreds of thousands of animals that I worked with in those years, because they are as individual as we are. And so just being able to kind of, I think, feel into their energy and know what would make them comfortable. Looking back, I think I did bring that to what I was doing at the time.
Mm. That's so
Yes.
fascinating. So, can you tell us, like, more of your journey that led up to it? So, you said you were in kind of pet related businesses and kind of areas of work. Like, uh, can you take us back? Like, okay, maybe you're in high school. What were you thinking? Like after high school, like those, like you said, we've been through this kind of schooling, education, and you're at the, decision making, kind of this path of picking either college degree or a path forward. How did your career kind of start?
Yeah, that that's fun. I had no inkling of when I was in high school of going on and working with animals. I just knew that I loved animals. And my dad was an interior designer. And so I started off in college in interior design and I loved it. But then this was a very long time ago before computers and all that stuff. And then I got to the drafting classes and I went, oh, I don't know if this is for me. I wasn't quite grasping that part of it. And went on into like more of kind of like commercial art, and then finally landed on broadcasting, which I loved. And I worked in broadcasting, generally TV stations in production, working on the newscasts, things like that, for about 10 years for national affiliates. And it was really fun and I liked it. But I, mm, there was still something missing. And then I had a very tragic event in my life. My mom died. So this was a long time ago. She was quite young, only had just turned 66, and I was 29. And I'm an only child and super close to my mom and dad, and they're like my everything. And it turned my world upside down. Like I, just really kind of barely made it through that for the next, couple decades. It's really tough. And had a wonderful boss at the time. I think he sensed or knew something. I don't know. And I remember him saying, Allison, just go do what you love. I thought, oh, animals. Animals are what I love. And so I left a good, lucrative career. And my first job working with animals was at a large humane society in Denver. I was living in Denver at the time, so I did that for a little bit. That was tough, really, really, really tough. And I knew that wasn't for me. I'm really just admire people so deeply who can stick that out. And then kind of knew. Then I worked at a couple of vet clinics, and got trained kind of as a vet tech. I wasn't certified or anything, but did pretty much all of the things. And that was fascinating. I loved it. And then transitioned into owning a pet sitting business.
So you liked vet tech work,
I
but you
did.
decided to transition out of it?
Yeah, we were living in Denver at the time, and we wanted to move to Nebraska, which is where we're from originally, so that we could have some land and get some horses and that kind of stuff. So we were in the process of moving. And the vet clinic that I worked for at the time, we had a pet sitter that we highly recommended. I thought, now that's a pretty cool thing. I think I could do that. And yeah, so we did, and I did. We moved to back to Nebraska and started my pet sitting business from scratch. There was not another one in the town. We were in a town about 50,000 people, 45, 50,000. And I was really the only professional pet sitter there. And I loved it. It was really fun. But then also got burned out, after 17 years, and you're out in like the mailman, right? All kinds of weather, literally out in blizzards, ice storms, tornado warnings, no matter what the weather is, which is crazy in Nebraska. You have a responsibility. And if you got to drive across town on icy roads to let the dogs out to go potty at 9 o'clock at night, that's what you do. You get it done. And yeah, after about 17 years, I'm like, I don't know that I can do this anymore. And nights and weekends and holidays, and it becomes very consuming. And so then at that was kind of at that crossroads then too, of then being able to transition into starting another business. And of course, I work mostly from home, so
Yeah.
Arizona, so I don't have to worry really about the ice and the snow, but still. And the thing that I love, love, love about this, well, many, many things, is I get to work with people all over the world. And it's just amazing. I have friends now, in other countries that I've met or stay in touch with through my work, which is really fun.
That's amazing. And it's so interesting because any path, like any kind of interest, I'm just thinking, people might know, just like you knew, okay, I love this, like you loved animals, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier or give you the answer of what to do in that area. And it sounds like it's been a long journey to figure out the right form that's also supportive for you, how to work with those animals that is best suited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's a beautiful insight. Yeah, what really does feel right for me?
Hmm.
Yeah, where's kind of that balance
Hmm.
of not having to be, out of the house all day long, running around, taking
Hmm.
care of other people's pets, which was amazing, though. I loved it. But just kind of fine tuning and finessing, and I think following your heart. So for viewers and listeners, if there's a little something there in your heart, and it keeps tugging at you, and it's not letting you go, and maybe you keep pushing it away, saying, oh, I can't, or I don't have the time, or whatever it is, I would just encourage people to pay attention to that, at least acknowledge it. And then, maybe whatever feels good for you, but just kind of turning it over to whomever you believe in or whatever feels good for you, and just say, I'm surrendering this. I know this is part of who I am, or maybe what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know how it looks. I don't know the steps on how maybe I'm going to get there, but I trust that this is part of my journey. It's
Mm,
something that keeps coming to us, you know. I think
mm,
it's so important to listen to that.
mm. I love your beautiful, I think that's another thing that stood out to me. It was a beautiful, kind of more gentle energy. And I think sometimes also in this world, it can be harder for people who have that because this world is like about pushing and reinforces and rewards, pushing, striving, making it happen, going after it.
Yeah, exactly. When we think of that energy, it's just, it feels heavy to me, like just pushing and pushing, pushing and pulling, or whatever it is. Even in the classes that I teach, it's like, even if, and I don't want to get too close to the camera, but like, even if I'm like leaning way forward in my chair in a session or a practice or something, it's like, okay, I'm pushing. My energy is pushing even towards this animal. So, catch myself, sit back, relax my shoulders, take a breath. Just relax into it. Just that energy alone shifts. We
Yeah,
can
and I feel like
feel.
that's a training. Like we have to, no matter what the situation is, like um, in this kind of type A society that is modeled and kind of like demanded or needed in a lot of the workplace, that we are conditioned almost like it's like we have to remind ourselves to pull, that to relax, to bring it back, to calm ourselves, right, and be able to be present like
Mhm.
that.
Yes, exactly. And even just grounding ourselves, grounding our energy into the earth is so helpful. And that's something we can do all day long. It only takes a few seconds. You can take as long as you'd like, but just even thinking about that, taking your energy and grounding it down and opening those chakras at the bottoms of your feet and growing the roots down and really feeling it and bringing that energy back up from Mother Earth to fill your body. And it just feels really good. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
mhm.
I love that. Is there a way now, kind of looking back, and obviously you've been through it, through the iterations, how would you say somebody can shortcut maybe 15 years of getting to kind of the right form and getting to that kind of, the right aligned work faster, without all, so much trial and error?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I would say start taking whatever small steps you can. If there's a modality or if there's something that you're interested in, like, get the book or read it on your Kindle, or maybe take a short workshop from somebody, see if it's resonating. Take any small steps that you can, because I think when we start to take, and there's a fine line here, right? Because we're talking about not pushing and not pulling,
Mhm.
but we also need to take some action as well. We can't just sit back and go, okay, universe, like, bring it on. I don't have to do anything. Just bring it to me. For me, that doesn't work. I feel like I need to take, some kind of action, some steps forward. And to me, what that does is that puts, I was just having a conversation with a friend about this yesterday. What that does is it puts the intention out that, hey, universe, I do want this. And look, I'm taking a little step. I'm reading the book, or I took the little workshop, or doing something to start myself on this path. No, I cannot see the end. No, I don't know how it's going to unfold, because I'm going to sit back and trust and surrender the how of it. I don't know how it's going to work or how it's going to unfold. But I really love taking small little steps with intention because I think it puts it out there like, yeah, hey, I want more of this.
I love that. Yeah, because I would say that there are a lot of type A people who are accomplished and women who probably have no problem taking action, but it's just weaker that intuition part and that listening part and kind of validating, using your energy wisely and taking the action in the right kind of as precise and fine-tuned of a direction as possible instead of taking so much action in all the and depleting kind of your energy in all for all the wrong things.
Yeah, exactly. And just, I think, trusting that once it's kind of like once you step on that path, you'll continue down, but you're taking a small little step
Hmm.
towards what you're like. And also, we don't have to know what the end is going to look like. I know I kind of already said that, but we don't have to say, well, maybe I'm interested in a particular modality or I'm interested in doing this. We don't have to know what that end result looks like. We just have to start because when I started my animal communication journey, I was learning animal reiki at the time as well, and kind of morphed out of that and into my own um, energy work. And I also do healing touch for animals modality, and then I fell in love with crystals, and I thought, I'm bringing crystals into my energy work, and then as I mentioned, grief is a huge part of my life, and then started working in pet loss grief. I created a pet loss grief program, and things just keep um, evolving and unfolding. And when I started Animal Soul Connection all those years ago, I didn't know that I would also be doing these other things.
Mm.
So it's just one thing can lead to another, and we don't know maybe where that's going to go.
I love that. Is it evolving like easily? Does it feel kind of how does it feel like to you? Or is it kind of evolving as you work with people and animals and you just see kind of, what the clients want and, what are the people coming to you and then you kind of develop it? And
Yes, yes, exactly. I think that's a great question about hmm, yeah, how best to support my clients and yeah, what are they needing and wanting. I'm getting ready to open up my Animal Soul Pathways, which is going to be an online school, basically, with a few different self-paced classes in there. This is a little new to me. I haven't done the self-paced ones. Generally, I teach live, and I wanted to have some kind of,
mhm.
I guess, lower cost programs for people also. And so I'm working. One is about behavior, so it's called Soulful Behavior Balancing. Really looking at the relationship with your animal companion and how to deepen that. Teaching one on when your animal's getting ready to transition. Also have another one communicating with your pets in spirit. And anyway, there's lots of things. And I couldn't really have said several years ago what that was
Yeah.
going to look like. I just knew that it was something I wanted to do to support my clients in an additional way too. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
not always having to put those parameters on, okay, this is how it's going to look, or just remaining open.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was thinking, is it because people think, okay, if I do something that I'm passionate about, that I feel connection to, interest in, love for, is that going to be easy? Does it feel? How does it feel since you're doing it? Like, how would you describe how has it felt? And how do you feel on day-to-day basis?
Hmm. For me, I think if something's meant to be, it will feel easy. It won't feel like I'm pushing or pulling or having to make it happen. Yes, again, I'm taking some steps toward it, but I'm not forcing it
Mhm.
because I've done a lot of that too. Um, Forced things.
Like
So,
make it like like where it feels still like, like I'm just thinking there, and I've been there too, where you're getting up and you kind of have to motivate yourself, right, to get into kind of like force yourself to, kind of like, okay, like, to start doing the work, and then there are all kinds of narratives. There's so much noise, right? There's also narratives that say even when you're doing what you love, that there will still be that, and it's like, what's the answer really? Like, and how do you even gauge? Then you can be very confused to gauge how do you know that you're on the right path for you.
hmm, hmm. Boy, that's a good question. I think for me, I just feel it. I just tune in. I just feel it in my heart. Because there have been some other things that I've been interested in. Maybe I'm trying to give some examples. I'm terrible about thinking about things right off the on the fly, but maybe I've studied them a little bit. Okay, that was nice, but that wasn't quite it. You
Mhm.
know, um, but also just remaining open so much to what what is there and trying it out, and if it doesn't fit, that's fine, and then moving on to something else. But I think that's where it comes into trusting our own intuition. And intuition is a bit, it's kind of like this, right, with telepathy. Yes, it's similar, but it's still different. So intuition is something we're all using on a daily basis. And that's definitely a muscle that we can all continue to develop. And I think the more we use our intuition and trust it every day, then it does become more clear. We're able to really listen and trust our own gut, our own heart,
Mhm.
and follow where that's leading,
Mhm.
rather than doubting ourselves. I
Mhm.
think it's just that really deep inner knowing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's beautiful. So you would say, like, from your perspective, when you started doing the animal connections and telepathy, that it's a communication, even though you were learning, and I'm sure you had to also build the business aspects, and all the other practical aspects. So it wasn't like it came fairly easy to you. Like you didn't have to make yourself or motivate yourself.
Ah, yeah, it felt like it's the animal communication feels like a natural extension
Mhm.
of me. Yeah,
That's
because being
beautiful.
able to talk with animals in their own language of telepathy and receive, all of this information from them, and then helping their guardians understand that, it was, yeah, it's just magic. It's just
Mm.
really, it's so, oh yeah, it's just so incredible. And again, I know I say this a lot, but everybody can have that to whatever degree they choose, if
That's
they choose,
beautiful.
which is really, I just think is incredible. Yeah, because in the beginning, I think I was the same. All of my students have felt this. Like part of the program that I teach, we talk about the obstacles. Oh, I'm worried I'm not going to be able to do it. Um, I'm worried about the information that I might get. I'm trying too hard. I want this so badly. And all of those things that come up, we all have them. So, how do we navigate around those? How do we navigate through those? We learn to trust. That's what a lot of practice is
Mm.
doing. The more we practice, then we get comfortable in understanding, yes, that is indeed from the animal. I'm not up in my head. So that's
Yeah.
something we work on in teaching a lot, is being able to discern. when we're up in our head or when we're actually getting the information from the animal, and then that builds the trust.
I love what you said. I think that it feels like you or like an extension of you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's like underneath, like seeking the purpose and kind of this agony and sometimes striving and sometimes even despair and searching and yearning and
Mhm.
asking, sincerely asking, and even then not hearing. It's like at the underneath it that we want to feel like what we're doing through the day to day is that natural extension of ourselves with that kind of that ease and that energy that you bring, that like beautiful, gentle, right? Where it just flows in a way. I think that's what we're yearning for.
Mhm. Yeah, to find our purpose. I
Yeah.
think we all want to know why am I here
Yeah.
on earth at this time? What is it that I am
Yeah.
that I'm here for? What is it that I'm here to do, to give? You know?
Yeah. And that it must be bigger than every day, like motivating yourself, guzzling coffee, running on cortisol, right? And sitting in front
Mhm.
of the computer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so agree. But you said what you do is so to do animal communication, you don't have to be in person with the animal.
No, no, not at all. Not at all, because everything is right, go back to telepathy, which means distant feeling. So, yes, I can communicate with, or an animal that's here in the room with me just the same as I could, from New Zealand.
Mm,
It's no different because it's energy. So I'm just receiving that telepathy, these telepathic messages through energy. Uh,
mm,
yeah, I find that actually um, I've done sessions in person, and it's lovely because I love meeting the animals. But actually, sometimes it can be a bit of just a distraction
yeah,
to have the animal there because
really.
you can. Yeah. I can't quite explain how or why. Um, but yeah, so I generally, I think the majority of animal communicators do most of their work at a distance.
That is so interesting. It reminded me, I have a neighbor that does like or has done, and that's her interest is like um medium or like energy work, like communicating and picking up messages, but with people. And she always says, I prefer to work on the phone, like it's distracting to me if the person is in person with me. Like for me
Yes,
it's easier. So it reminded me of her.
yes, it is. It's somehow you're able. For me, I'm able to just go completely within in my core, and I'm just in that energy and in the energy of the animal without, yeah, just without any other distractions. I do love to do my sessions though live with the person. So whether it's on the phone or on
Mhm.
Zoom, because well, yeah, I just can't imagine doing it any other way. And not to say that the other way is wrong. It's not at all. It's very individual, whatever works for a particular animal communicator. But I like working live with my clients because then it's a completely open three-way conversation. So if we're learning things from your dog, and you have some additional questions or something, you're like, oh, I want to ask this. Perfect. We're doing, it's just this flow. And then
Mhm.
I'm also picking up on your energy, of course, whether it's just on the phone or on Zoom, it's there. And I think it brings up mm, just brings a beautiful energy to the session when we're doing it all together.
Is
Yeah.
the animal there on the Zoom session?
They don't have to be. No.
Really?
So the animal could be in another room. They could be out playing.
Really?
Let's say we're working with horses. Horses are out at the barn. So no, they don't really even have to be in the same room with their animal. I do like to work from a photo. It just, I don't know. I just like it. It's not absolutely necessary, but I enjoy that. It's fun though for the person to be in the room with their animal because quite often they'll start to notice things. Like let's say the animal's been, let's say a dog, maybe he's pacing around or something, and I start the connection, talking to them like, oh my gosh, he just laid down and he's sleeping, like wow. So it's clear. It can be very clear that I am communicating with their animal through the physical things that they're seeing with their animal, which is fun, and how the animal's reacting to some of the conversation, and just
Yeah.
not always, but when that does happen, it's really fun. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing because I was thinking if they are not on the Zoom with you, how do you know that you're communicating to the right energy? Because there could be like many energies out there.
Yes, that's a great question, especially if we're working. Let's say we've got, we have 5 dogs. So let's say I have a client that has 5 dogs, and we're, going to be working with all of them, and I've got all their photos. Um, I may just tune in and say, okay, unless they have a specific dog that they want to start with, who wants to go first? And generally, well, almost always somebody like me, I want to go first, and so I can just feel it, tune in with them. And so we start with them. And then sometimes the other, let's say, dogs in the household will start popping in, or I'll feel kind of like a group consciousness with them, and then work individually with them as well. Like for instance, we could be doing a session, and your dog could be, out in the yard playing or in another room napping. It's just, again, that energetic connection. Yeah, that we don't know. That's the beauty of this. I don't know how it works. I have no idea. We're not supposed to. Uh,
Yeah.
how does an animal convey the information that they do in ways that make sense to their person? I have no idea, but it is, and it's valid, and it's 100% on.
Mm.
Makes sense to the person, and so that's. I think maybe that's. I see a little bit maybe is something that may make me stand out sometimes from other animal communicators. Is I don't like to put parameters on this, and I can't even call it work, just on this energy of animal communication, right? Like, oh, you have to wait, I don't put some random number on, 3 weeks after your animal has passed before we can talk with them because they're busy doing whatever. Um, well, I don't find that. I think we can talk to them at any point, or all of our animals are here for a specific reason, and they're only here to support us. And when they've done their job in that, then they pass. Maybe that's part of it, but I see them as sentient beings with their own
Mm.
lives, and I don't like to put that egoic spin on it of they're just here for us, supporting us and teaching us things. Yes, they absolutely do. And but there's so much more than that in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I wanted to ask you, and I wonder if other people put these frameworks on it, but it's not that relevant. But like overall, do you feel like there's still stigma or misbelief, like in people to believe that it's a real thing?
Oh, totally. Yeah, and that's okay. You know, oh goodness, yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that are like, well, that's impossible. That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no way. you're making it up or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
that's totally okay. Generally I don't get any clients like that because
Yeah, they wouldn't.
they're already, it's happened. I'd say in all these years, there's probably two that I can recall that came with a very specific agenda to test me and
Oh, wow, that's
prove
good.
that this isn't real, and that's okay. If gratefully, I don't seem to attract a lot of that, uh, but that's okay. And also, I love me, and I will have some clients that will come in and they'll be honest. They're like, a little skeptical, but I just want to check this out. I'm like, it's beautiful. It's totally fine. Can be skeptical. And then, of course, once their animal starts talking and it's spot on and it's relating, and they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Now I get it. And that's super fun. But that's all right to have skeptics because I think that's it's just healthy, and it can also start the conversation a little bit. And one thing that I have seen, which is really encouraging, is let's compare this to say 10 years ago. There were far more skeptics um, than I think there are now. People are really, in whatever modality it could be, anything in kind of this. Again, I hate to even put the word metaphysical on it. That seems like we're still boxing things in, but you got to call it something. Kind of this metaphysical world. There's so much more going on now. It's amazing. And it's really fun because I live outside of Tucson, which is, super holistic and open minded and all of that.
Mm.
And I'll just, be in different random stores like Trader Joe's. This happens a lot at Trader Joe's. I'll be talking to the checkout person, and I'm always buying biscuits. They're like, oh, you have dogs? Oh, yeah. I'm an animal communicator. Oh my gosh, I need your card, right? Give me your cards. I'm like, and I'm not sure that would have happened 10 or 15 years ago. There was a little bit, but not a lot. Uh, and now it's much more prevalent. More people are doing it. People are understanding about it. And I think that's really exciting, especially in areas where it might not have been as accepted before. It's becoming accepted now. And I just think that's fantastic.
I love that because I can see that, from, I think, human, there's more like energy healers, energy workers, and I think it's become more prevalent. So I can see kind of that trend also applying to pets. But I wanted to ask you, let's say it kind of ties in. Let's say somebody has a light bulb moment and they're like, oh, this could be a thing. Like, I'm interested in learning this animal communication thing. I kind of feel some connection to it. How can you share how was a practical building towards making it a real viable income?
Mhm.
Translating this skill into being able to provide for yourself. And
Mhm.
what's the journey, what you felt, what you went through, and what somebody could expect.
Gosh, that's a great question. Yeah. I would think, first of all, is kind of naming that intention, coming into this studying of animal communication with that intention of, yes, I do want to become professional. This is in my heart. I do want to help um, people wherever it may be. I do want to be, for me, the big thing was really to be of service. I want to be of service in this work. And coming in with that intention, I think, is probably the strongest thing that we can do. And then, find a teacher with whom you resonate and that you want to work with, and trust them and dive into this. Part of what I do, if someone is wanting to, and there are a lot of animal communication teachers out there now, which is also great. But part of what I do, if somebody's wanting to do this professionally, I do walk them through the steps then of doing that. Right? How do we how do we look at the marketing, and what are you naming your business? And look at the website, and what kind of services do you want to provide, and how are you going to price your services? And so we can add all of those business components on to it. I think for me, it did help a bit, having had that pet sitting business for quite some time, because I had a website and all of those things. But I think so much of it is the intention and finding a teacher, and then also looking at ways that you could start to give back, maybe in your community, making offering. So one thing I do is I offer my services, animal communication, for no charge for animal rescues, and shelters, mostly rescues, um, and give back a lot in that way for fundraising and things like that. Donate an animal communication session. That's a great way to get your name out there.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing that people could do if they're interested in doing this work, is kind of start to do that. And you're also going to get a lot of practice that way, because the more we practice, the
Mhm.
better we're going to get at this. So that would be one thing. I've also established a relationship with a couple of veterinarians in my area, and that can be really helpful as well.
Mhm.
And really think finding kind of some of those networking opportunities of, networking with other pet related businesses. Pet sitters are fantastic to network with, because I've had helped a lot of pet sitters, like a few even in the moment, like it's kind of an emergency situation, like I can't get
Mhm.
this dog to come out of the closet. What do we do? And so, work with them on that. And
Mhm.
so this goes hand in hand for pet sitters for sure. I'd love to see every pet sitter out there learn animal communication, because they would be astonished at how much it would help them in their daily life. So kind of looking at other, pet businesses. Okay, how could I support them in becoming a professional animal communicator? So it doesn't have to just be our solitary business that we're doing. There are lots of other ways to reach out
Mhm.
as well. I don't know, that was kind of long. I don't know if that even
Yeah.
made sense.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I was just thinking, usually, people who are drawn to kind of the different energy healing, they already have that helping spirit, and the intention to help and serve um, is already there. What could be actually lacking is sometimes the practicality and the fact that, we all have to provide for ourselves, and there's nothing bad in that. And they can start solving for the practical too late, and not knowing how to apply it. And it can definitely deter somebody and keep them in a job that's not fulfilling, but is paying the bills.
Exactly. And that's the scary thing, taking the leap in
Yeah.
doing this. And I recall, in the beginning feeling, mm, somewhat uncomfortable. And I think it's fairly common for us in this energy world of, charging for my services. Well, I needed to, because this isn't a hobby,
Yeah.
and,
And it's okay.
yeah. So, uh, and getting to the point where I felt really comfortable with that, and saying, yes, it is okay to charge X number of dollars, because I know that the benefits, my clients, and most importantly for them, certainly, and their pets, are getting with this work. And so really believing that, and that's something that we work on as well, is developing that belief in, this is a really important work that we're doing with
Mhm.
animal communication, and it is changing.
Mhm.
It's changing lives. And I remember, one of my animal communication teachers said, Allison, this work will change your life. And this was early on in my study. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big statement.
Mhm.
And now I say the same thing. I'm like, this will change your life,
Mm.
learning animal communication, because it does, period. It changes your life. It changes in so many ways, but I think most importantly, it changes the way we view our animal family. And for me, I've always felt an attraction to all of nature. I've been
Mhm.
talking to trees and plants and rocks and things for years and years. And that's also something I teach too, is we communicate with one of the exercises, we communicate with trees and water and rocks and plants and they have energy as well. We're not getting the same type of information as we would from a dog, but it's energy. And just to it it opened up a whole new world and way of thinking to me, and seeing that we are so truly all one.
Mhm.
It's really powerful. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Allison, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful journey and what you're doing and energy. How can people connect with you and find out more and follow you?
Thank you. They can visit my website, and that is animalsoulconnection.com. I have my animal communication sessions on there, and also my energy healing work that I do with crystals and healing touch. Also, my pet loss grief program. It's a 5-week program that I lead people through individually, so it's one-on-one. And they can also learn more about my really unique one-on-one mentoring program for animal communication. So I work with you individually to however it is that you're wanting to incorporate animal communication into your life, whether it's with your own animal family or you're wanting to go a little bit deeper. I work with you and completely customize that program for you, which is really exciting. And then pretty soon, I will have my Animal Soul Pathways School on there as well. So, yeah, and people can reach out through there, email. My phone number's on there as well. So, always feel free to text or call as well. And love to answer any questions at all that I could for people. Just help them uh, in any way that I can.
Beautiful. And is that one-on-one mentoring program also kind of what if somebody is interested in potentially exploring it as a future work option? Is that the same one or is that a different
Yes,
concept? Okay.
yes, it would be definitely yes. And I would just add some additional classes and yeah,
Mhm.
then I talk with them a little bit more about that. But yes, absolutely, to get them fully up and ready and becoming an animal communicator. Yeah.
Beautiful. Was there anything I didn't ask that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Oh, thank you. Gosh, I can't.
Any
Yeah,
intuitive message?
yeah, I see. I think, yeah, it's always just, I keep saying this over and over again. I really would encourage people to have this deep knowingness that you have this natural intuitive ability. And also, yes, because telepathy is the natural language of animals, that's how they're communicating with each other. So, in addition to the body language vocalizations, they're communicating telepathically, um, interspecies as well. And because of that, they are able to understand our thoughts and our feelings. I joke like they're not living in our head 24 hours a day, but they know what we're thinking. They know how we're feeling
Mm.
intuitively, telepathically, because that's how they communicate. And so we can, I'm going to interrupt myself. People can go to my website and sign up for my How to Talk to Your Pets guide. Just a free guide that you can get along with a couple of meditations, and that's going to give you way more information than I'm going to share now. But it really help you see the possibilities of communicating with your own animal family. But in the moment, just know that they are understanding your thoughts and feelings, and that you can very easily convey your thoughts and feelings to them without even reading a book or taking a class. It's just knowing that they can understand us. I'll give you a real quick example. So, my husband Ben, he's not an animal communicator, right? But he, lives with me, so he's getting all this, and he understands it and is interested in it. So our 10-month-old border collie Willie is, he's a border collie puppy, and he's amazing, but he's a lot, right? And so last night Willie was a little busy, and Ben just sent him the thought, Willie, can you lay down? And boom, he laid down. And Ben turned to me and said, I just sent Willie the thought to lay down, and he laid down. I'm like, yes, I know.
Wow.
That's how this works. It really can be that simple. And isn't that fun to just so, or people, sorry, I don't want to go on too long, or we hear a lot, people say, oh, gosh, I think my dog is reading my mind. Well, yes, they are. Or, we're thinking about going for a walk, and all of a sudden our dog's right at our feet. And, our human mind is probably conditioned to say, oh, that was just a coincidence. But no, they're reading your mind. They're reading your energy. They picked up on that thought. Oh, let's go for a walk. And boom, there they are. Yeah. And I made this mistake a few weeks ago. One of the, we have a little long-haired miniature dachshund named Jasper. We generally take him for a walk in the evenings because it's hot here. And a couple of times I was thinking, oh, well, go for a walk. And it was maybe like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, it's too hot to walk right then. But Jasper started getting all excited. He was doing his running little zoomy circles. Oh my gosh, we're going for a walk. Oh, wow, wow. And then I had to catch myself and thought, I just sent him that message unintentionally. I needed to add a little component of, oh, we'll go for a walk when the sun is down. We'll go for a walk in a few hours. Send them that mental picture of what the sky will look like. It's not going to be bright sun up in the, it's going to be a little bit darker. It's going to be a little bit cooler. And that's when we're going to go for a walk. And had I done that, he wouldn't have gotten really all wound up at the time. So, that guide will hopefully, shed a little bit more light on that. But that's just kind of the tip of it all. It's so exciting.
That's beautiful because so anybody who has a pet and would like to understand them better, that's a beautiful offer. So how to talk to your pet?
Yes, they just can scroll down. It's on that first homepage there, and it's a little place where you can enter your email, and then you'll get my How to Talk to Your Pets guide, and then also couple consecutive days after that, recorded a couple of lovely meditations for you all too as well. So.
That's an amazing offer. So I encourage everybody to do that. Go to Alison's website and we'll include it in the show notes and get that amazing resource and start connecting with your pet even, you know, at a deeper level, because I think we all want that. We want to understand them better. So thank you so much, Alison.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Thank you. This was absolutely delightful. I love your energy. This was so much fun. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.